London, England, in the London borough of Hammersmith and Fulham, approximately 5 miles west of Charing Cross on the north bank of the River Thames. Although Hammersmith and Fulham is London's fourth smallest borough by area of 1,639 hectares, it is one of West London's key transport hubs and commercial and employment centres. Another major cultural landmark of Hammersmith is the Hammersmith Suspension Bridge over the River Thames. It was designed by William Tierney Clark in 1824. There was a long-felt need at the time for quicker access to major roads in and out of London. Access to other parts of the country and also to other places like Richmond in London is now greatly reduced. Despite having been dubbed highly satisfactory by Thomas Telford, as early as the 1850s there were concerns about the structure of the bridge. Crowds of up to 12,000 people would gather here annually for the university boat race, and this would cause the deck of the bridge to sway alarmingly. So the Metropolitan Board of Works temporarily closed the bridge in the 1880s, and then it was reopened again in 1887 by the Prince of Wales. I'm standing here on Hammersmith Bridge. Behind me is the quickest and easiest route from Hammersmith to places like Barnes and Richmond. Every year, thousands upon thousands of people gather here to watch the annual boat race between Cambridge and Oxford universities. So what do you do?
I coach the senior boys rowing team here at Laith Upper School.
So how often do they go rowing around?
Yeah, they train quite hard, the senior boys, so sort of 16 to 18, so they train about 9 times a week, which is quite a lot for that age, but they're very competitive, and that's what they need to do to compete with the rest of the schools in the country.
So what do you think attracts people to live by the Hammersmith River?
I think it's probably the river. I think in London you've got, it's a very built up city, but the river almost offers a lot of open space. It's a bit like a lot of people have parks and gardens, but we have the river here, which is our open space, and it's somewhere where certainly the kids enjoy getting out. There's a lot of space, freedom, and I think they enjoy that.
So how long have you lived in Hammersmith?
I think I've lived around here for 20 years or something, like that, in different bits of Hammersmith.
Great, so what attracted you to live in this part of Hammersmith?
I've always felt like a West London girl, but this bit of Hammersmith I'm here really because of the river, because I've just become addicted to it, because it's got such wonderful walks. And it's fabulous at low tide. You can go down onto the foreshore and pretend you're by the seaside, which is lovely.
So how long have you lived in Hammersmith?
I've lived here for 8 years.
Really, 8 years? Wow. So where are you from originally?
I'm originally from New York City.
So what made you choose Hammersmith as a place to live from America?
Well, I got married to my husband who's Italian, but he already lived in Hammersmith.
So what do you think are the reasons that people come to this part of Hammersmith to live?
It's just a really great place for walking. Lovely parks, and we just have done the river walk to Barnes, on from Hammersmith Bridge to Barnes Bridge, and it's just really lovely. After being in New York City for so many years, which is very, very urban, Hammersmith is almost suburban in a funny way, but close enough to the city in the West End.
There are a number of different leisure activities that take place here. There are many different things to do, including loads of different pubs, rowing clubs, and also the riverside park of Furnival Gardens.
And when the weather is good, you can actually go for a walk nearby the river. It is an area where you can easily go to shops.
Although it's one of the smallest London boroughs, it's one of the key transport hubs and employment and commercial centres, with many multinational offices held here. It is centred around the 2 underground stations, the bus station, and of course the road network at Hammersmith Broadway. So how long have you lived in Hammersmith?
Over 21 years.
21 years, wow.
Yeah. Actually 21 years ago today I moved here. Yes.
So what attracted you to live in this part of Hammersmith?
It was location, because it's really well located for the centre of London, and I was working between the airport and centre of London. It's really well connected for public transport. It's a lively area. You can walk out your door and have all the stuff you need. It's a multicultural area. It's got a lot going for it, and you've got the river right there. So you've got, all the shopping stuff. You can 5 minutes walk down to the Thames and great pubs and the bridge. It's a pretty spot.
Chiswick was originally formed from 5 different areas. The area surrounding St Nicholas's Church, known as Old Chiswick, a small fishing village known as Strand on the Green, an area known as Turnham Green which runs along the main road, and the area surrounding Sutton Manor known as Little Sutton. Chiswick also includes the area between Hammersmith and Chiswick, known as Stamford Brook. So how long have you sort of lived and worked in Chiswick?
I've worked here 15 years. I've had the business, and I lived here for 7 or 8 years.
Right, okay. So what originally attracted you to the area of Chiswick?
The money.
Money. Is it quite a well up and coming area?
It's up and coming now. It's always been very affluent. Plenty of money in Chiswick, always has been. It's a leafy suburb. It's tidy, it's clean, it's expensive. People like to live with a dear postcode, I suppose. Not far from the river. Plenty of open land. Decent high road. Nice people. It's all right.
So do you know much about the history of Chiswick at all?
Fair bit.
Fair bit. What sort of things do you kind of know?
Used to be a brewery behind here. That was the last battle of the Civil War over on Turnham Green Terrace. That's about me, I think. Yep.
Chiswick derives its name from the Old English and translated means cheese farm. For many years, during the 18th century, many of the farmers here would hold an annual fair centred around the cheese industry of this area. Many people think that this was held in an area known as the Duke's Meadows. When the railway came to the area, there was a dramatic increase in the population of Chiswick. In one 60-year span, the population doubled. By the end of the 1800s, over 20,000 people lived in the town. This population growth meant a sudden and dramatic need for more schools and housing. The increased population growth also led to the need for police stations, a library, fire station, sewage treatment facility and newspaper. Today, Chiswick is a desirable community to move to. It is accessible to downtown London and Heathrow and has many nice restaurants and hotels. Chiswick is now considered a part of the London Borough of Hounslow. As such, Chiswick does not have a traditional need for a town hall, but the building is still used for some meetings. There are also a number of accommodations including bed and breakfast as well as guest houses in Chiswick, excellent for tourists visiting the area. Why do you like Chiswick? What was sort of the attraction for you to move here?
Well, I really like the high street, and I think my parents were just attracted to how easy it was to get onto the high street from where we live as well. And also you've got like Chiswick Park nearby, which is really nice because we have dogs as well.
So what kind of things is there to do here? Is there a lot to do for someone your age?
Yeah, because there's quite a few people my age living around here anyway, so there's like a whole kind of variety of ages, and just the high street, and there's lots of restaurants and coffee shops and things.
High Road is a busy shopping street with many cafes, restaurants and several 19th century public houses.
manager here at the old cinema, and I've been working here for about 6 years now. The building originally, as the name suggests, was a cinema. Up until around 1934 was the last showing here. And then during World War II it became a parachute factory because the building was slightly derelict, so they used it for that. And then after World War II it was basically derelict again and sort of turned into a bit of a junk shop. And then in the 70s it became an antique shop. Finally in 1989 it was refurbished, and we had extra floors put in and redid the decor, and it reopened in 1989 as the old cinema. For about 15-20 years all we sold was traditional mahogany Victorian antiques throughout the whole building. And then in the last sort of 10-15 years, the stock has diversified into more, lots of various different styles and eras, more sort of vintage and retro kind of furniture, and accessories and gifts and so on. Quite a lot of interesting lamps, and they're made out of various musical instruments, antlers and sporting goods, so related to people's hobbies and interests. Furniture, it's a complete mix, so the idea being that you have something that will cater to everyone's different tastes rather than just one style.
Chiswick is a very desirable place to live, with many famous and well-known people having been born here and who also live here now. Actress Kate Beckinsale was born here in Chiswick. Actor Hugh Grant was also born here. The lead singer of the Iron Maiden band, that I'm sure you all know, Bruce Dickinson, now lives here. The famous director Simon Curtis, best known for his work My Week with Marilyn, also now lives here. Why do you think overall people get attracted to move to this area? What is it particularly, do you think, that attracts people? It's getting quite a popular area now.
I think for the location, I said it's central, it's very close to the centre, so if you're working, also it's very quiet, so it's very central, but it's almost like a small little town as well. So, and bars, restaurants, shops, so it's just quite a chilled out, relaxed area, but it's still very close to the centre.
The schools are meant to be very good. Would you agree with that, Ren?
Yeah, it's got good schools, it's a lot of green space, parks and things.
But the schools are a big draw for people as well, especially families. They've basically got good reputations, schools in the area. I mean, there is a lot of history here. You've sort of got Chiswick House and grounds in Grove Park, which is quite historical, and there's quite a good background to that. Chiswick House itself is quite an old historical sort of landmark, if you like.
Chiswick House is the first and one of the finest examples of Neo-Palladian design in England. Inspired by the architecture of ancient Rome and 16th century Italy, the 3rd Earl of Burlington built the house as a homage to Renaissance architect Palladio. Never intended as a private residence, Chiswick House remains a bold architectural experiment, a showcase for art and a venue for entertaining. The history of the house and gardens at Chiswick is long and complex, with successive owners adding their own architectural chapters to its story. The 3rd Earl of Burlington, from 1694 to 1753, designed the elegant classical villa seen today, drawing inspiration from his grand tours of Italy. It was originally located in a modest estate, purchased by his grandfather, next to an existing Jacobean house. The villa reflected the influence of the Italian architect Andrea Palladio and his English follower Indigo Jones, and its Neo-Palladian style soon spread across Europe and America. Visitors to Chiswick House in the 18th and 19th centuries frequently commented on the size and splendour of the cedars of Lebanon. Since felled and replaced, there were originally 8 in the forecourt, the beautiful dark tint of the solemn evergreens affording a pleasant contrast to the whiteness of the building. On the lawn at the back of the house was a magnificent avenue of cedars. Combined with cypresses and urns, the branches of the cedars sweeping down to the ground, royalty and other distinguished people commemorated their visits to Chiswick House by planting trees. They included General Garibaldi, Queen Victoria, the Emperor of Russia, the Shah of Persia, and the King and Queen of Hellenes.
You're watching London Life. See you soon.